guys, welcome back to our show. Today on NeurOverload. There really are two kind. Alright, so we will be having a quick crime sesh on multiple sclerosis and comparing two research papers that looked into the same treatment options.
You probably have questions, and we're here to answer them. Maybe.
Sclerosis? Is that a kind of dinosaur?
No.
But can you elaborate?
No! You know what? On second thought, let's keep the questions for the end.
Good call. Alright, the simplified definition of multiple sclerosis, or MS, is that it's a viral infection that targets and degrades the myelin sheath of neurons in the central nervous system. Shockingly, Statistics Canada reported that 93,500 individuals in our population were diagnosed with the disease in 2011. As of now, there is no cure for MS. However, treatments such as physiotherapy and the use of medications are frequently prescribed to patients with the goal being symptom management.
More specifically, given the possibility of the disease being viral in nature, the injection of interferon beta has been explored as a treatment option in two papers we'll be discussing today.
What's interferon beta?
Although I said to keep questions for later, that's a great question. Interferon beta, also known as IFMB, is a signaling protein released by infected cells to warn their surroundings of the presence of an antigen. The main goal of doing so is for neighboring cells to heighten their immune defense and be ready to attack, just in case.
As I mentioned before, there is no cure yet, but research into the benefits of treatment with IFNB have been looked into for quite a while now. Indeed, in 1981, Jacobs et al. Collaborated on a study where administration of IFNB doses by lumbar punctures demonstrated an overall decrease in patients' exacerbation rates.
For those of you who don't know what an exacerbation is, hold that thought. We will be answering that question shortly. So, 30 participants partook in this study. 10 of them were chosen as a control group, which means they did not receive treatment and were used as a comparison to the recipients. On the other hand, there were 20 recipients for IFMB, 15 of them being women, and the remaining 5 men. Their ages ranged from 20 to 40 years old. And they were diagnosed with different types of MS, each with symptom onset differing from 1 to 20 years. And yes, there are indeed different types of MS.
That's right, and these different forms of the disease are based on periods of stability or improvement versus periods of deterioration. Some patients will have a steady increase or decrease, while others will go through alternating periods of improvement and worsening of symptoms. Speaking of symptoms, all subjects underwent neurological testing and assessment of MS symptoms at the very beginning of the study and every month until the end of it. However, only the experimental group was assessed semi-weekly for a month while they were receiving a lumbar puncture for IFNB administration.
After a month, recipients received treatment every month for 5 months and the final one after a year. During the lumbar puncture, samples of cerebrospinal fluid were extracted for analysis. So, how did they compare the deteriorating symptoms versus the improved symptoms in each patient?
So we're back on exacerbation rates now, like we promised. The study classified an exacerbation as a period of 24 hours or more where the new symptoms appeared following a minimum 1-month period of improvement or stability. Based on this definition, coupled with all the other tests, patients were categorized as either better, unchanged, or worse at the end of the study.
So, long story short, 5 recipients were placed in better category, 4 in unchanged, and 1 in worse. You may be wondering what happened to the other 5? Well, the results were omitted for various unrelated reasons. As for the control group, opposite results were observed. 5 patients got worse, 4 remained unchanged, and 1 got better.
When considering the methods, this study has a few weaknesses. First, the selected sample size was fairly small and there was an unequal distribution of genders in the sample. Moreover, the patients had various types of MS and the final assessment categorization was arguably vague. Finally, the placebo effect was not taken into consideration.
However, I must say, although the placebo effect was not considered, their justification for it was based on ethical reasons. Lumbar punctures are known to be painful, and it would be really unnecessary to inflict this pain to the control group. Another strength is the frequency of assessment of patients, considering that the experiment was fairly short. Additionally, the intrathecal administration of IFMB heightened the certainty that the desired dose crossed the blood-brain barrier.
The second case study was conducted by Lacey et al. They They looked into how IFNB treatment could benefit MS patients, more specifically with their cognitive functioning, unlike the first study we mentioned. Also, this was a longitudinal experiment that took place over 16 years. The cohort size was smaller than the 1981 study, but all 16 selected patients were previously diagnosed with relapsing remitting MS. The control group had 7 patients, while the experimental group consisted of 9.
In the control group, all patients initially received a placebo, but after 5 years, they were given the choice to start IFNB treatment, and they all agreed to do so. Therefore, the placebo effect was just accounted for 5 years out of the 16. Seeing as the experiment focused on the effects of MS on cognitive functioning, subjects underwent a variety of tests after 2, 4, and 16 years to collect data. The cohort as a whole had a neuropsychological test battery, an MRI, and neurologic ratings, which were measured by EDSS and SNRS tests. Finally, an IQ test was done at the beginning of the study to possibly explain any unexpected data in cognitive functioning.
The results of all these tests provided data for the subject's scores for sustained attention, information processing speed, memory retrieval, conceptual reasoning, and visual spatial perception. Based on these, there was an observed improvement in the control group's visual memory and the experimental group's verbal memory. Although the MRI depicted an increase in lesions over the 16 years, these results are to be expected as they are a natural part of the MS disease evolution. That being said, it was determined that the multiplication of lesions was not significant enough to invalidate the observed cognitive functioning improvement and maintenance with IFNB treatment.
The strength of this study was it took place over a long period of time. It gave new insights on the effect of long-term IFNB treatment on cognition, which is a major factor targeted by the disease. The main strength is the precision of the study, compared to the one previously mentioned in terms of the selection of subjects with the same type of MS and the numerous tests that were performed. Additionally, the experiment was double-blinded and placebo effect was considered.
However, the placebo effect was not part of the experiment for its entire duration. Once again, the sample size was insufficient and the intervals between each evaluation were very large.
Wow, that was a lot of information. I know.
But what's the takeaway?
Both research papers converge on the benefits of IFNB. Unfortunately, little research has been conducted to further confirm results from similar studies. Based on the weaknesses mentioned from both studies, many may criticize the reliability of the conclusions drawn.
For example, the presence or absence of a placebo effect in this case can be problematic. Would it have been ethical to make a control group believe they were being treated for 16 years? Is the absence of a placebo effect in a short-term experiment significant enough to alter data?
I agree. Also, sample sizes were small. However, it must be taken into consideration that recruiting participants with similar types of MS, age range, and gender can be difficult, especially if they must commit to a long-term study.
Now that we've looked over all this information on IFNB and MS, isn't it peculiar that it's one of the limited options MS patients have? Indeed, the treatment is not even a cure, so why hasn't more time been invested into this matter? There are still so many unanswered questions.
Yeah, why is it that there seems to be more female MS patients?
And if you compare the disease distribution of MS and malaria across the globe, there are similar trends between the two. Is there more to the viral aspect of MS we don't know?
And why are some people affected but others aren't? What triggers a sudden deterioration in the myelin sheath?
So you see, we might have answered your questions, but we have some too. Thanks for listening to NeurOverload, guys. I'm Liz.
And I'm Sasha. See you next Thursday where we'll be diving into research done on Alzheimer's.